Okay, so it says I'm live. I love that. I don't know why. Every time I see it, I go, oh, I'm alive. Well, he's got a camera to talk to, which is fun for me because at various times in my life, I haven't had anybody to talk to. Cameras are cool because I can look back. I mean, I can look back anyway, but it's not the same as with a camera because then I can actually see, you know. A camera's better than a person, really, in a lot of ways. Because you can see, you know, you can look back. I don't know. It's a little bit self-referential, but that's the way it goes. But as I said, this was going to be my Woodstock story. In honor of the 49th anniversary of the Woodstock Music and Art Festival is what it was originally. What it was originally touted, you know, advertised. The original event was Woodstock Music and Art Festival. And I've told this story a million times, and I have it written someplace, and I was going to publish it, but I can't find it. So I'm just going to tell it. So we had, so the Woodstock Music and Art Festival, I bought tickets. I was in a home for unwed mothers at the time in the Bronx, in Misericordia Hospital in Bronx. It was that's a whole nother series of stories. But anyway, during that time, I listened to a lot of radio because I love music. I've always loved music. And we listened to FM radio, which at the time was the alternative music. The FM radio back in the 60s was underground. It was the underground music scene. It wasn't stuff that you would hear on the, you know, on the mainstream. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful music. And it was, you know, Joni Mitchell and stuff like that. But there was the incredible string band, which I absolutely loved. And because I have that kind of, you know, mind, my mind works like that. I always like things like Led Zeppelin. I like things that are epic and, you know, either sci-fi or you know, fantasy. You know, that's kind of, I like that. I like epic fantasy kind of stuff. And so I like bands like that, and I did like Joni Mitchell, and I liked Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I mean, so the tickets. I got a ticket right to the Music and Art Festival, and ended up going back home. And the festival was in August, and I had bought my ticket in June, right? So when the time came to go, I told my parents, "Well, I'm going to the Music and Art Festival." They said, "Well, you can take the van." They had a nice van, Volkswagen, of course, the Volkswagen brown and cream color hippie van, basically, my parents had. And so they packed it up, and I, as I said in my earlier broadcast, I had wonderful parents. They were wonderful parents. But they packed up the van with, food, every kind of food that you can imagine, an ice chest with, whatever you need. I mean, my parents were very thorough. They made sure they covered all their bases. And they put in, first aid supplies and, bedding, dry clothing, towels, anything that you could possibly want for your 3-day adventure. My parents packed it into the van. And the only caveat was that I brought my sisters with me. And I was sure I'd love to bring my sisters with me because, when I hear the words Woodstock Music and Art Festival, it conveys a certain, I used to hang out in Woodstock way before the festival. I used to go to Woodstock and hike in the canyons and climb and, go in the beautiful little shops. They had wonderful secondhand shops, vintage, but they didn't call it vintage, but they were used clothing, and there was a great restaurant up across from where the Colony is now. It was called the Elephant, and they had sesame seed buns, which was unusual at that time. And they have wonderful. They had the best thing they did. They have syrups with seltzer, and you could have, all different. And I still have an ideal of that kind of restaurant where you can have syrups with seltzer. I mean, that made a big impression on me. But anyway, So, I mean, I was used to hanging out in Woodstock, which was a really small town. I mean, they could not have the festival, the Woodstock Festival in Woodstock, because you could not fit very many people in Woodstock. It's a tiny, really cute little town. You know, very proper. You know, it's a very, very nice little town. Very nice restaurants, nice shops, beautiful place. But not the kind of thing that you want to have. Music, you know, whatever the hell they had there, but it wasn't the Woodstock Music and Art Festival, which is what I thought it was going to be. So anyway, long story short, my parents pack us all into the van and we take off, and I'm driving, and I brought my friend Jerry Lanza with me, who was, you know, she was my volunteer at the library, so her mother was one of the librarians, and the whole library, my mom founded the library, but all kinds of stuff like that, right? Anyway, so my sister and Maggie didn't come, and I thought she did, but it was only Patty and Roberta and my friend Jerry Lanza and I, and we were driving up, you know, and we drive up over the Bear Mountain Bridge, and then we go up, heading up the Quickway, which is Route 17. Route 17 is called the Quickway. So we're going up 17, and you know, the traffic's not too bad, and then we do the turn off to White Lake, you know, and like after. And I'm driving the Volkswagen with 4 on the floor. You know, it's a stick shift. You got a double clutch. You know, so, and I knew how to drive it because my dad taught me how to drive it way earlier. And so we're driving up the road to White Lake. It's funny. You've seen pictures. I mean, it was like a one-way traffic. You know, it was a traffic jam, basically. You know, too bad they didn't have instruments right there. They could have just stopped it and had a traffic jam. But everybody was heading up to the to this festival, right? I guess in the interim they must have been advertising or something, because there was everybody was coming from everywhere. I met a guy that you know, he was at work and he just dropped work and just came running to this festival, and so I drive. So I'm driving double clutching in my clutch. You know, I'm trying not to burn the clutch a little bit occasionally, but because it was, you know, you're up and down, and you know, the roads are very windy in upstate New York. It's all hilly there. So we're driving up, and so we get in there, and you can't. I mean, there's no parking anywhere. It's just you know, this is cars everywhere, just oceans of cars and oceans of people milling around. And I'm not a people person. So I wasn't thinking that there were going to be that many people around. So I just I look, and to the right is a little white church surrounded by pine trees. I think they're fir trees, actually. They were the big dark fir trees, as far as I can remember. And so there's nobody in the parking lot. It's a church parking lot. So I just pull into the parking lot. And, you know, I have the whole thing to myself. I had the whole parking lot to myself. Nobody bothered me. So there might have been a couple other cars there, but it was really not very crowded. And so as soon as the van stopped, my sisters and Jerry, gone. Took off. They left me there. And, you know, I'm a very serious person. So I have this responsibility. You know, I have the keys to the van. You know, my sisters, God knows where they went. Who knows what the hell's going on? I have no idea. So I'm like, I can't. I have to stay by the van, because what if something happens and somebody needs to get into the van? And what if something happens to my sister out of the emergency? You know, whatever. So I stay by the van. And so I was the one who originally wanted to go to the festival. I didn't end up going at all. I walked up the road and, you know, listened a little bit, but I never got near. It was too crowded for me. I don't like crowds. Because it's just too in person. You know, crowds are just, I don't know. I'm not a crowd type. I'm okay. I can handle a little bit of crowds. But anyway, so I ended up staying near the van, and I met a nice fella, and we strolled around and talked and did things in the hayloft, and it was nice. It was nice. He was from Danbury, Connecticut. But so anyway, but I did a lot of mescaline. People kept handing me capsules, and I ended up being mescaline for some reason or other, which I really like. I like mescaline. And and as I have mentioned, I would bring the policeman down on the corner. There was a policeman down sitting on the corner, and I'd bring him a cup of coffee every morning. How you doing, officer? You know, because I grew up in, I don't know, I grew up in the 50s where, you know, the policemen were nice guys, and, you know, everybody, I mean, everybody seemed really nice. I didn't really have any problems with anybody. So I brought the policeman a cup of coffee every morning, you know, for the 3 days that we were there. And had a little chat, watched people go by, like, where the hell are they coming from? Oh my God, it was crazy. It was crazy, but you know, I mean, you walked up, there people swimming. I did. Did I swim? I probably didn't swim. I might have swum. But anyway, the point of the whole thing is, this is my oh yeah. So I might as well finish this, because on the way back, so everybody comes back safe and sound. My sisters and Geraldine and everybody. You know, then the guy from Danbury. So we all get in the van and we're driving, and Gerald and I'm tripping. I was tripping, doing mescaline. So I was like, I'm not going to drive. I'm going to sit in the, I'm going to lay on the floor in the back. I was just spread out in the back, on the back floor in the back of the van, on the ground. So I'm laying there, and I said, wait, something's wrong. I said, all right, listen, you have to pull over. Something's wrong. So Jerry, this is on the quick way going down, which is a hell of a road anyway. But it's Route 17. But so she pulls over, and as she pulls over, the wheel on the driver's side falls off, exposing the brake cylinder, you know, which scrapes along the ground and gets ruined because the wheel fell off. It goes rolling across the road. You know. So what are we going to do? We did not have cell phones back then, and there was no phones on the road. You know, there's no. So we just stood there basically and hung out. Down there was like one of those road fences, and there was a gorge down there with a stream at the bottom of it. And so we just stood there and leaned against the road fence, whatever they call those things. There's a word for that. But we leaned against those and talked. And then eventually somebody came by and they asked us if we needed help. And they went and they called the tow truck. The tow truck came and they towed us down by Roscoe. They towed us to a garage. And the garage had a big automobile graveyard, you know, a lot of old dead cars in the graveyard. So they towed us there, and it turns out that they called and they didn't have the part, so they had to send it away for the part. It took 3 days it took 2 days, something like that, for the part to arrive. So I, called my parents, and they said, "Well, it's nothing we can do. You have the car." So we were kind of stuck there. So my parents were so cool about it too. So we just stayed. I talked to them every once in a while, but we just stayed. Fortunately, we had tons of food because my parents gave us tons of food. So we stayed in the automobile graveyard for a couple of days, and it was like fun. I thought it was huge fun. We were camping. We had a thing. We toasted marshmallows and stuff like that. And then everybody had they were those American Motors. The hell, I can't remember the name of the car, but they had seats that a lot of them had seats that reclined, so that it was really a good place to sleep. It's really comfortable. So everybody had their own little car, and we meet up for breakfast in the morning. I thought it was a great adventure, but that's my Woodstock story. So I'm going to end it now, and I'm going to start a new one because it's so much fun. All right.